guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go over an email that was sent from a subscriber. That's from a guy, he's 25 years old, and he shares his story, or more like his journey, where he went from the classic nice guy that made all the mistakes that even I made when I was younger, to definitely on the path to the R pill, even though you're going to see he still has some work to do. And you're going to see through his journey here, his background, his experience with different gals doing things, you want to smack him. But the main part of the story is his last serious girlfriend, where he then truly sees it all. And let me tell you guys, this is actually a part one of a three-part series, a trilogy here, because this guy really goes into his life, his background, all that, to where he ends up, where he definitely has the last laugh. Where not just she, but many of them are coming back, wanting a second chance, that type of thing, and proving that they always come back. And when a guy has his life together, the world is his oyster. So guys, I'm going to jump into this right now. Like I said, it's a long story, 3 parts. And after I'm done publishing this one, a couple hours, I'll then have the second one. A couple hours later, part 3. So for you guys that like longer stories, a whole trilogy, this is definitely going to be a good day for you. So it starts off, says here, good day SSM. I never expected to write you thinking I didn't have a good enough story, but thinking about my life more and more, I realized how wrong I was. Well, bro, it's quite the story. I've been a long-time subscriber of yours since 2020 when I first found you. I watched all your content and enjoyed the stories you told, but never did implement the lessons like I should have. Well, you should have, dude. Why were you listening? I mean, I know these stories are entertaining and all, but my goal is to provide knowledge through the entertaining, crazy stories. Around when I met my most recent ex in 2021 was when I stopped watching, since she became my whole world and what my time was consumed by. Smack! Imagine how much better your situation would have gone if you'd watched my stuff regularly while you were with her, and you would have made all the mistakes that you made, or gotten involved with her in the first place. But you figured, no big deal, I don't need this material, I got this amazing girl. And by the way, notice how he said he made her his whole world. We all know what happens when guys do that. Funny enough, after we broke up in 2022, within a week, I randomly got a suggestion for one of your videos and haven't missed one yet on all 3 channels. Well, God or the universe or somebody knew you needed my work, so good. Don't skip a day. An SSM video day keeps the hoe bags away. Remember that, guys. I just want to say thank you for all the stories you do, as I've learned so much about the reality of relationships and how and why women act the way they do from you. I'm not perfect with implementing a lot of what you both say, but the times I have, it has really worked well with women. Hear that? I don't always do it, but when I do actually apply this knowledge, it works out pretty well with women. Well, then apply my knowledge all the time. And not just my knowledge, other knowledge that guys have shared through the channel, through their stories, and other great channels out there. Apologies for jumping all over the place, so feel free to cut out anything you don't find relevant, since I'm sure a lot could be just rambling. A little about me, I'm 25, I'm 5'10", and currently around 208 pounds. I've always been fairly stocky, so a lot of that is muscle, but at the same time, you can tell that I don't turn down some cake. Well, I don't either. I would say that I'm a 6 in the looks department. I grew up in the Church of Latter-day Saints, aka the Mormon Church, and which I stopped going to consistently when I was 18, but a lot of the values taught in church I do agree and like, and still follow to an extent. Okay, so you're not into that lifestyle anymore. I'm sure that's popular with your family. But there are some certain teachings there that you agree with. Fair enough. The biggest one being I never have and never will drink alcohol. I've had many opportunities to, but I just don't see the point in drinking, since most people use it as a way to get away from their problems in life, and oftentimes it leads to more problems, especially in overconsumption. I agree, dude. You're not missing much. I enjoy a good, strong, turpentine-tasting IPA on occasion, or a margarita when I go out for some Mexican with some friends. But that's it. It's one drink, that's it. You're not missing much. And so many problems occur when people drink too much. Also, I know that I have a lot of tendencies of my father, and I know that if I were ever to drink or get drunk, that I could turn into the person he used to be. My father and mother met while in the military, and within a year of dating, they got married at around 19 years old. My father became a Mormon. For my mother, which included not drinking alcohol anymore, and had their first kid not long after. Smack! married after 1 year. Well, these stereotypes about the Mormon faith, community, church, all that, no offense to you Mormons out there, but you know there are stereotypes. And by the way, guys, if your girl is ever pestering you to go see a musical one day, and you're like, I don't want to go to a fucking musical, okay, go see the Book of Mormon. You want to laugh your ass off for 2.5 to 3 hours, go see that. I saw that like 2015 in Boston with my girlfriend at the time. Oh my God. I almost pissed myself laughing so hard. But anyhow, a little off topic. He says, I am number 5 of 7 kids. I have 5 sisters, 3 older and 2 younger, and 1 older brother. We weren't poor per se, but having 7 kids meant that we didn't have many luxuries others had, and I never had to go to bed hungry, as my dad grinded and did what he did to provide for the family. 7 kids, that means 9 people in your house. Oh my God. What, 2 wasn't enough? 4 wasn't enough? I mean, I don't know how your dad can use his dick anymore after all that. I mean, God almighty. Well, I grew up in a quiet household, just me and my sister. So I can be thankful for that, as it taught me to appreciate what I have, since everything I own, I've had to work hard for, and it's more satisfying than being just giving it for doing nothing. Hey, I agree with that. So most of my memories of childhood, I don't really remember him being in most of them, except the more traumatic ones. I mostly remember when he beat me when I was around 8 to 10 years old, which was mostly because I hit one of my younger sisters. As a little kid, you don't know better, so sometimes it was me starting it, and other times it was only in retaliation for being hit or scratched first, but that didn't matter to my dad. He would always yell, "You don't hit women," before laying it into me. When I was a little kid and my sister scratched me or bit me, you can bet your ass I was going to scratch or bite her back or do something worse. I don't care. The irony of the statement is that he was physically abusing my mom. I'm not totally sure how long that was going on, since I was young, but I think that was mostly the last year or 2 of their marriage, also around the time he started drinking alcohol and falling away from the church. I think that's the main reason why you don't drink, my friend. My mom stuck with him through all the abuse because she hoped he could change back and be better, but that culmination of events eventually led to my parents getting divorced when I was around 15 years old. I'm sure that wasn't popular in your community and church, but I mean, if your dad's doing that and it's regular and everything, obviously this is, it has to end. By the way, guys, if you can hear some equipment going on here, moments before I started filming, a work crew pulled up behind me, and they're not doing shit behind the car, but I'm in the most shady, cool spot here in South Florida on July 31st, so I'm not fucking moving, so just listen to me and ignore the crew back there. So as you can see, most of my childhood, I only remember my mother raising me, since my dad was too busy working or on business trips for most of my life, as well as being surrounded by 6 women my whole life, as well as church teaching you to basically praise women and put them on a pedestal, which is probably what made me be such a blue-pilled nice guy for most of my life. God, yeah, exactly. Dad's never around, 6 sisters, mom, and all his other things, and the narrative out there. You can see where this is why young boys need a strong male role model to help them. I was a pretty introverted kid for most of my life and would only be more extroverted around friends, but even still, from middle school to high school, I had some luck with 6 different girlfriends, most of them being 3 to 10 months long, all of which treated well like I was told I was supposed to do. And looking back, I can definitely say I was a nice guy to most of these women. Well, if you had 6 different girls throughout high school, you were light years ahead of other guys that were nice guys and didn't get any female attention. I don't know how much action you got. I know that was obviously against your upbringing, but that was better than nothing. At least you learned something. Not to say that we didn't have arguments, because I am hard-headed in the way I think, which caught plenty of arguments, but most of the time I would concede because I didn't have the balls to fully stand up for my own morals, probably due to fear that they would leave, and because I was taught to treat women like a queen, which probably caused a lot of problems in the relationships. You bet your ass. Well, women will say they want to be treated like queens and all that type of thing. That's what all the narrative tells you. But when guys do that, what happens? They get treated like a fucking jester. And she goes off and fucks the invading barbarian. A couple of them I know showed a lot of disrespect to me. 3 of the girls I broke up with near the end of those relationships. I just started caring less and less, and by the time I left, they were obsessed with trying to get me back for a while, which is a childlike behavior, but I only did it on accident since I was just done with them and didn't care anymore. Notice that when you stop caring, then they start chasing, because you stop putting them on the pedestal at that point. You need to do that all the time. And that happened to me a lot too, guys, by the way, when I was younger, in my nice guy stage, which was a lot of my childhood. When I just got sick of the shit, I was done. And then when I started behaving indifferent, not giving a crap or breaking up with the girls, then they chase after me. It's like, why didn't I behave that way all the time? Or at least find a balance. Being indifferent, but not being an a-hole. Although when you're an a-hole, you're doing things right in their eyes. One of the other three told lies that I S-word abused her to a girl named Emily, who I was talking to, and since all three of them were in the band, they saw me and Emily were getting close these 3 months after our breakup. Okay, he kind of wrote that off, but obviously there's some bullshit going on. Thankfully, that lie wasn't told to any authorities, as it could have ruined my life, and all it did was make Emily ghost me, and within a week of that event, she started dating some other guy. I guess I should maybe thank her in a way, because Emily was hot, but already did have problems from her home life that affected her mentally. I know she was sure had BPD, borderline personality disorder, and probably a couple other problems. I was already starting to white knight for her to help her with them. Yeah, don't be the white knight, guys. After high school, I went to community college for an associate's in engineering. Since I didn't get into college, I wanted to major in aerospace engineering, which in the end might have been a good thing, since I would have wasted so much money, because as smart as I was in high school, taking calculus, AP chemistry, and AP physics, I didn't put in the effort in studying for my classes in college, and after I failed a lot of classes for 1.5 years and having a 0.7 GPA, I decided I needed to take at least a semester off and focus on making money instead of wasting a couple $1,000 at community college, barely passing any classes. So you wasted all that money and wasted all that time, you know? You were a smart guy, you shouldn't have been doing that bullshit, but obviously probably your mind was elsewhere. Or you just weren't ready yet, who knows? But yeah, it was good to take a break, to grow up, figure shit out, and earn some money. Then go back when you're ready. I eventually landed a job as a cell phone tower climber. Oh man, you're that guy, huh? Nothing will motivate you guys to do good in school as have to work out in the elements and climb cell phone towers and do dangerous shit. That'll motivate you to behave and get your shit together in school. I was making the most money I ever had, and it was a lot of physical work, but I enjoyed it, and the view was always beautiful at an average height of 200 feet above the ground. I was on my grind for those paychecks and was able to save over $10,000 in under a year. That's great, man, as a young guy. And by the way, not to diss the guys that work outside. I'm not dissing you. I'm just saying, you all know it's hard fucking work. Especially if it's snowing or freezing rain or pouring out or it's cold or fucking 110 degrees in South Florida. You get the point. That's all I'm trying to say. While working hard and improving, I got promoted to a Tower Tech 2, which was proof to myself that when I put the effort into my work, unlike what I did with college, that I know I can show my value to others, especially myself. Good for you, bro. I became responsible for running the top of the towers and making sure the work was good and pretty for the customers. During that time, I also started going to the gym 6 days a week, doing a PPL split, and even though I already had a stocky build before working out, going to the gym only put me in better shape, even without changing my diet, since I had a physically active job and now the gym. I went from 195 to about 205 during this time and was feeling and looking great. That's awesome, man. You're a young guy. When you're that young, it's easy to get in top shape. During my time climbing towers and working out, I started using dating apps, Tinder, Bumble, and Hinge, trying to find a girlfriend. You're not going to find girlfriend material on Tinder, Bumble, and Hinge, especially Tinder, for heaven's sake. I don't take photos of myself, so I used a couple older photos as well as some more recent. They weren't necessarily the worst photos, but with how many options women have, I'm sure it didn't help. Bro, if you're going to do that, at least take some recent pictures. And we can't make fun of women for putting pictures on these dating apps from like 5 to 10 years before and 80 pounds lighter. And then you go on a date and you see her and she looks like, you know, fucking Jabba the Hutt's little sister or way older. Have some recent pictures. That's going to help you if you're going to do that. I did probably get 100 plus matches throughout the 2 or so years trying, and even with a handful of smoke shows, but most of which I assume they just used it as validation that they could get me if they wanted, since most never replied, and even the ones that did were mostly just very bland and didn't lead anywhere. See? attention and validation. The first girl I matched with and actually had a date planned. We met in early January 2020 and talked for a little while, and she was very pretty but seemed shy and to have social anxiety, as well as a therapist that she talked to help her with it. Yeah, pass, next. Eventually planned on going to Dave & Buster's, which is an adult arcade, but due to a recent change, they raised the age requirements to 21 from 18, so we had to figure out something else out. I offered to take her to a Brazilian restaurant that does all you can eat, as well as a salad bar. I wouldn't be taking a girl to an all you can eat place, because you gotta keep her thin. Kidding. It was delicious, but also a little awkward as she was shy and I didn't have the best people skills since most of my life. I was introverted and only became extroverted when around friends and people I was comfortable with. Well, you use this as an opportunity to get better, dude. The date didn't seem too bad, but by the end we started talking about going to Top Golf since she had never been to one. So once dinner finished, we drove to Top Golf. All right, blah, 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 blah. Anyhow, he's going on about her. Anyway, spent a bunch of money on her. I know I pushed to see her again soon. I was constantly texting her, and eventually her text back started drying up and saying she was getting anxiety even by me just asking to hang out and taking longer and longer to respond, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so that didn't work out. But you learned something. In late of March of 2020, I started talking to another girl. Any guesses on what the next girl was? That's right, she was a single mom that lived an hour and a half away. Smack! A single mom, you couldn't get another girl and an hour and a half away? That's a lot of your good, precious time you're wasting. See, guys, he's going to learn a lot in these years. So, of course, I did what any white knight, nice guy simp would do. I talked to her for over 2 months and eventually drove all the way to her house to hang out, in which I met her father and son immediately. Oh, for God's sakes. And you took 2 months to do this? 2 months and you're still talking to her? She lived in a small town, and all we did was go for a walk and talk and get some Dairy Queen. Her baby daddy was in the military, and I think she was recently divorced from him at the age of 21. Oh, great. From what I thought, it seemed like she was one of the good ones. She just got with a Chad and got the shit end of the stick, and she was generally a nice gal with a good heart. Most of her problems came from him. Yeah, because she likes guys like that. That's why. And she's going to get bored with you. Looking back at text, she admitted to being addicted to cocaine, but has stopped, so yeah, my judgment clearly wasn't good back then. Thankfully, even then, my simp weighs something deep down. I knew I didn't want to take care of another man's kid, so I was not being serious enough with her, even after texting for 3 months. That, I guess she didn't care for that, so she eventually stopped talking to me. So, guys, this is a journey. This is a journey. Don't leave yet. The next girl, Courtney, I just started talking to her near the end of the previous girl in June. She was an interesting gal, to say the least. We met up to go on a hike, after which I took her on to ride on my motorcycle, since she's never ridden on one, and we got Subway after that hike. She was fun talking and hanging out with, but she also claimed to be a Wiccan or pagan, which, coming from a God-based religion, was definitely a weird thing to come across, since I'd never met a pagan before. Yeah, this isn't going to work. Especially one that says she has certain abilities. Oh, so you're saying that she said that she's implying she has superpowers? Well, tell the bitch that she's shit out of luck because there's no covens around where you live. It says, yep, a red flag. I clearly ignore it. She was another small town gal like the previous, but had daddy issues since she didn't like her father, but that didn't stop me from going on several dates with her. She also wanted to become an investigative journalist and go to war-torn countries, probably to get away from her father, to be honest. After several dates and texting all the time, the texting started to die off in July of 2020. I don't know, maybe she got on a broom and flew across the country she got on her broom and flew to a third world country to report on them, who knows. After a couple months, she showed back up on the dating apps again, and I swiped right again on her just to see if she did too, and we matched again. Apparently, she just got a new tattoo across her upper back that was supposed to say something, I don't know what the fuck he's saying here, some Latin or some bullshit, which means, if you want peace, prepare for war. Well, I like that line. It was misspelled, though, and I pointed out that to her, so it was kind of funny since she wasted $300 for a misspelled tattoo. What a dumbass. We talked to 2 to 4 weeks again in December before the conversation died out again. An honorable mention is the next gal I want to date with, who turned out to be a catfish. It was the same girl, but the pictures she used must have been years older, since she was slim and hot in the photos, and in person, she's probably had an extra 80 pounds. What'd I tell you? But you guessed it, I still went on this date with her at a restaurant, but at least she offered to split the bill in the end. That was nice because I know I was too nice at the time that she didn't offer I was going to pay for the both of us. You see all this shit he's doing, guys? See what happens when you have no strong male role model or the right one, growing up in a house of 6 sisters and mom and, the narrative of guys being these nice gentlemen and all that. Look at all the money and time he wastes on these broads. But this is how you learn. And by the way, guys, we're getting pretty soon to the main part of the story with this girl or what he learns from it all. But this is building things up. The next gal was 5 years older than me, who was a ballerina and taught dance to others. I was always texting her and trying to get her to meet up for over a month, but because she was a liberal, she was scared of COVID and was too afraid to meet up even after a month of talking. No, she just had low interest. A lot of these gals that it takes a long time for you to see, is because they had low interest, or you didn't have the balls to ask them out, which was probably a good thing with some of these wackos. We ended up arguing about COVID and other political things that I will not mention because of the YouTube algorithm. Now, don't waste your time. But anyway, she wasn't having any of it and just stopped replying. Her doing that was doing me a big favor because I don't mind having disagreements, but she was definitely masculine, and in her boss babe era, that I probably would have been a pussy whipped by her since I still didn't have a backbone at this time. You definitely would have been pee whipped by her. Another one, Emma was a girl that I don't remember when I started talking to, but I know we constantly texted for a year throughout most of the previous girls, but only about 4 to 6 months that I was friends with benefits with her until she found a boyfriend. She was 6'1" and not the most attractive girl, but not totally ugly. But she did give me attention and texted back well. It was enjoyable talking. At this point, you were desperate for any ass, huh? She was conservative and acted more like a bro, which is probably not why it was easy talking to her. Due to me not being super attracted to her, it was easy not to care about what we did or even pushing for a relationship. See, there you go. She's giving you more attention and action than the rest of them because you don't care. A common lesson in these stories, guys. Be indifferent. We became friends with benefits, sleeping with each other a bunch, and eventually I even met her parents. All of them are lovely people, and at one point got asked to help her dad with work on his 26 acres of property, which I obliged because I didn't mind doing hard labor, and they were all great people. Because I wasn't drooling over her and wanting more like I was with the other girls, I never brought up a relationship with her, and surprisingly, neither did she, even though we were sleeping together. Eventually things slowed down and she got into a relationship, so we ended things on good terms. Okay, you got practice, you got some ass, you were dating Bigfoot there. I mean, she's 6'1", but okay. I'm 5'10" like you, so I am not into taller women. The absolute tallest I will tolerate, absolute fucking tallest I would tolerate is 5'8", and that's a stretch. But then she wears fucking heels, it's like, yes. I prefer the short, petite ones. At this point, I was starting to care less about women and what they wanted, and when I met the next girl, we met up at her house, and since I was still working 6 days a week, for around 1.5 to 2 years, and kind of using old photos, when she opened the door, she audibly gasped and said, "Wow." I asked what. She said, "I'm even more attractive in person." As someone who had low self-esteem, was struggling to even get girls to respond over the dating apps, that was a huge ego boost, especially because she was the most attractive girl I hung with thus far. Hey, there you go. Now get some ass. We did the normal talking and the Netflix and chill thing, and I slept over. In the morning, went to Chick-fil-A for breakfast. For breakfast? I was doing well up to that point, but sleeping with a very attractive gal on the first date made me a needy simp come out, and I started to text her all the time, and being needy caused her to start to text me less and less, until eventually she stopped responding within 2 weeks after sleeping together. Hear that? Pretty girl gives him attention, and all of a sudden he's bombarding with texts, chasing after, doing all this classic nice guy shit, and then boom, she lost interest. She should be chasing you all the time, dude, not you doing all that bullshit. See how he's learning, guys? The last girl before I met my most recent ex was Catherine in November 2020, and she was cute, but not nearly as attractive as the previous one-night stand. So maybe that's what helped me act indifferent to her, but we also met up at her house and Netflix and chilled multiple times. She says she didn't want to do oral, as that's almost all she's done her whole life, since she also grew up in a small town and couldn't do more with her parents' home, so she wanted regular sex all the time. So you got the blowjob queen of the small town girl, huh? Believe me, if she's effing you all the time, I'm sure she can. If she expected you to go down south, down to Chinatown, she can do the same thing. And I ain't gonna get. I don't know about you guys, but I'm not getting a relationship with any chick if she isn't ready to get down and go down to Chinatown. Not fucking happening. She also said I was the hottest guy she's been with after the first time we did it, which is probably why she was constantly asking for me to come over and smash. Hey, you were getting laid. And yes, I wore protection with her and all the other girls too. I saw her as fun, a bit of fun, but wasn't taking her too seriously, even though when she mentioned the other guys that she went on a date with, I just didn't care and showed that. Again, your indifference. Guys, and bro, I know you were listening to this, if you're dating a gal or seeing a gal hooking up with a gal, and she basically admits to being the BJ queen of her town, that ain't relationship material. And goddamn it, she better have mouthwash on her at all times. Because I'm not going to get into that. At some point, she even complained how no guys were taking her on actual dates, which is true for me at least, since we only met up at her house to watch movies and sleep together. So I don't know if it was me feeling sorry for her or what, but I did take her out to get Mexican food that time since I was having fun, so I figured it's the least I could do. Guys aren't taking her out on real dates because she's the Netflix and fuck girl. Okay, that's how it works. In late January 2021, while I was still talking to Catherine, I matched with my ex Sarah. Here we go, guys. This is the main part of the story, Sarah. She's a beautiful Colombian gal. SSM, I know how much you love them Latinos too. I am surrounded by Latina gals. And most of the gals I've encountered down here are Colombian or Brazilian. We set up a date for the zoo a few days later. We met up outside the zoo, and while talking, I realized, well, some of her texts seemed a little strange. English is her second language, so she couldn't always string a sentence together perfectly. Mostly like just missing a word or putting a word in the wrong place of the sentence. At that point, she had only learned English a little over a year from her job as a dental assistant, but I can't lie, I'm a sucker for that Spanish accent Latinos have when they speak English. And gentlemen, this is where the real story begins. His real journey in learning. We had the gals before he was learning stuff from. We had his background. Now's the main thing that's going to send him eventually down the path of the R pill. When he gets involved with this gal, because believe me, this is the moment in his life he's not going to forget. And let me tell you, it's going to be quite the interesting one. So guys, this is where I'm going to end part 1 because it's already long enough already. I know you guys are like, Jesus, SSM, you're just getting into it. Well, as you can see, we're coming up in half an hour here. But I'm going to have part 2 up in a couple hours, and you're going to see the whole thing with this girl and where this guy goes wrong. But eventually, you know how this whole story is going to go, because this is a journey. This is a trilogy, and, you know, people have their beginning, their downfall, and their rise. So you're going to see how this goes. So I will see you in a couple hours.